You ever talk to an AI and get this weird feeling? One second, you're seeing a spark of real intelligence, and the next, it's just a baffling, frustrating glitch. It's this strange paradox, right? These things feel more human than they ever have before, but they can also feel so flawed. So yeah, let's go looking for this ghost in the machine. A lot of the time, it all starts with the voice. I mean, listen to this feedback from a user. It's brutally honest, right? Comparing the AI's glitchy voice to something out of a horror movie. It's one of those raw, unfiltered moments that just perfectly captures that unsettling feeling when the human-like mask starts to slip. And yet, in that exact same conversation, the AI can turn around and do something that is just astonishingly human. You can literally cut it off mid-sentence, and it'll just pause, listen to you, and then pick its thought right back up where it left off. Now, this isn't some simple party trick. That's a really complex conversational skill that, until very recently, was pretty much just a human thing. And no, this isn't science fiction. This is happening right now. This timeline here shows you just how fast this tech has evolved. I mean, we're talking just in the last couple of years, researchers from major players have basically cracked the code on making these conversations feel fluid. So on one hand, you've got this incredible human-like ability, and on the other, you've got the exorcist voice. So what is going on here? Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Because what happens when you take this super advanced, yet kind of broken technology and you put it in a real conversation, especially about something sensitive, like privacy? Well, things can get pushed to the brink, fast. Let's look at some actual user transcripts. So our first case here kicks off with a totally fair and direct question. The user just wants to know about the rules of engagement. They're asking, hey, where in the official policy does it say you, the AI, can decide to bring a human into our chat? It's a simple, straightforward request for a little transparency. But instead of a straight answer, the user gets, well, this. A whole lot of vague corporate speak. The AI talks around the question, throwing out phrases like ethical use and responsible AI, but it never actually points to a specific rule. And this is a classic problem. The AI is programmed to sound reassuring, but it just ends up sounding evasive. And this is what happens. The user gets so frustrated they literally have to stop the whole conversation just to get it back on track. They call out the AI's biggest weakness right there. It struggles to remember the context, and it can't just answer a direct question without trying to sidestep it. The whole conversation is about to fall apart. All right, let's switch gears to another case, which shows a totally different kind of failure. This one isn't just about being unhelpful, it's about being potentially harmful. So an AI offers to set up some filters for users' Gmail. Sounds great, right? I mean, who wouldn't want a cleaner inbox? But then the user spots something pretty alarming in the AI's plan. It was about to make a filter that would automatically archive any email with the words job offers in it, basically hiding them from view. I mean, can you imagine missing a huge job opportunity because your helpful AI decided it was clutter? But check out what happens next, because this is really fascinating. When the user points out the mistake, the AI doesn't get defensive. It just straight up admits it was wrong, apologizes, and says it'll fix it. And that's another one of those weirdly human moments, the ability to actually learn from being called out. Now, this whole tension between what's promised and what's real, it isn't just in how the AI talks. It bleeds right into the facts and the data it gives you. The machine is supposed to be this source of truth, but sometimes it tells a tale of two very, very different numbers. Let's see how this plays out. So a user asks about the return on investment for AI. At first, the AI confidently says a 2023 study found this amazing 92% success rate. But the user thinks, that sounds a little too good to be true, and challenges it. And what does the AI do? It immediately pivots and brings up a recent MIT study with the total opposite conclusion. 95% of companies have not seen the returns they expected. So, which is it? When you start putting all these different pieces together, a really clear pattern starts to show up. These aren't just one-off bugs. They're all part of this ghost in the machine experience. A voice that glitches out, an inability to handle pressure, a habit of using vague language, in this super frustrating tendency to not tell you where it got its information. And that brings us right to the big question, right? We have an AI that can handle interruptions like a pro. It can apologize for its own mistakes, and it can pull from huge amounts of info. And yet, it stumbles, it deflects, and it contradicts itself all the time. So what is really going on behind the curtain? The good news is that developers are very, very aware of these problems. They're not just trying to build more powerful AI, they're building smarter tools to actually control and refine it. So let's take a look at the key ideas they're using to try and bridge this gap between the promise and the reality. Okay, the first and probably most important tool is something called RLHF. Just think back to that email inbox example when the user said, "Hey, don't archive my job offers." That was a super powerful piece of human feedback. RLHF is the system that's designed to take that exact feedback and learn from it, so the AI doesn't go and make that same mistake again. The second tool takes on that whole evasiveness problem. When the user asked for the specific policy, they were basically asking for explainable AI, or XAI. Instead of a black box that just spits out answers with no context, XAI is all about building systems that can actually show their work and explain why they said what they said. And the scale of this whole challenge is just immense. Look at this number, 1,103. That's from a single user conversation. It's the number of different events, from the user's questions to network errors, that developers have to sift through for just one chat. It's a massive, massive job. So, the really important takeaway here is that fixing AI isn't just about cramming more data into it. It's about building fundamentally better systems for feedback, for transparency, and for control. It's really about auditing the algorithm itself. And all of this leads to a pretty clear three-step path forward that the industry is trying to follow. First, you use feedback to constantly get better. Second, you make the systems understandable so that people can actually trust them. And third, and this is the really advanced part, you start auditing the very mechanics of how the AI even communicates. Which brings us to this really fascinating and kind of provocative final question. We're getting a lot better at fact-checking in AI, the what. But can we actually audit its conversational strategy, the how? Like how it dodges a question, how it stays on topic, or how it tries to shift the conversation? This is really the cutting edge of AI ethics. Researchers are now talking about auditing for stuff like thread continuity manipulation. It sounds like a fancy term, but it's a simple idea. It's about tracking how an AI is steering a conversation to make sure it's doing it in a transparent and ethical way, and not just to get out of answering tough questions. And at the end of the day, that's why all of this really matters. We're inviting these incredibly powerful, incredibly complex, and yes, sometimes flawed, ghosts into our daily lives. And to do that safely, we need to build systems that let us understand not just what they know, but how they behave. The goal isn't just a smarter machine, it's one we can actually trust. Thanks for joining this explainer.